think if faith is a deep trust in God, then it is a recognition that all things come from God, and therefore our faith has to be lived out in what we do with money, just as it's lived out in how we deal with others, how we live out our lives in community, and other things. So how is it that our money becomes a gift to others as we offer ourselves to God in the same manner that God offered himself to us in Jesus Christ?
The Trinity icon, the Rublev icon of the Trinity, is the love feast between three in one. And so there's this constant outpouring of love one to the other between the Father and the Son and the Spirit. And they live in community. And so our work in this fundraising work that we're doing is to live in community in that same way. And part of living in community is the interaction of people. And so a lot of the work we're doing before the campaign actually starts off is that strategic planning and that discernment. The discernment and the discretion. What are we going to do? What are we not going to do? What programs have had their life and need to die? And what programs need to be installed so that we're having a life-bearing and worthy thing for people to fund? And so I'm really worried when people, churches are doing really great campaign work, but they've done not so good planning work, because it shows up in the fissures and cracks in the foundation of the campaign, because underneath the donors are saying, there's no there there, I'm not sure what I'm giving to. The biggest thing I hear people say when we're talking about campaigns is, we don't do anything until late August, and then we go berserk. And the reason is because we've put it all, it's so scary to us, and so anxiety-producing to us, that we will, do you remember when you were in college? When was your room the cleanest in college? During exam week. Because it was, I would rather actually clean my room than study. If I could, the only thing I could put off studying for that had any integrity was cleaning my room so that room was spotless. We will do all sorts of things not to have to design and implement the campaign. But don't fall into that. Spend your spring doing exactly what you're doing, which is planning. Spend your summer implementing those plans for the production of materials. Spend your fall raising the money. Spend your winter evaluating the program and starting the next one. A year-round program. A little bit about the campaign chairperson. When people sometimes are asking me, well, what's a good, how shall I ask for a campaign chair? And usually what happens, which is my most worrisome thing, is would someone in the congregation please put up their hand who would like to be our campaign chair? Please, please do not do that. It will be, invariably, it will be someone who either doesn't know what they're volunteering for, has a pathological need to be involved, does not have power in the rest of their life and finds the possibility of having power there. There are lots of really bad reasons for people to volunteer. I'm not saying that all your volunteers are bad people. No one's a bad people. We're all good. We're all made good. Every single human being is made good. We're basically good and streaked with evil. We're not basically evil and streaked with good. So when you're recruiting a leader for your campaign, recruit someone who does what they say they're going to do. Just that. They don't have to be a good fundraiser. They don't even have to be fundraising at all. They just need to do what they say they're going to do, so that when you do a plan, you know they're going to conduct a plan. A fun way of doing this work of projections and growth potential is this formula. You take the number of people who are actively involved in your church. That is, people who show up week to week and people who show up on Christmas and Easter. Those are the active ones. The inactive ones may be on the rolls, but they're not showing up at anything. But the ones who show up at Christmas, Easter, and in between, those are two different groups usually. Those are your active people. So that's your universe, right? And then just call your local Chamber of Commerce or your local municipality of leadership and ask them what the average income is of this area. and then multiply that average income by the number of people in your church, and then take, just for fun and giggles, laughs and giggles, take 10%, 5%, 2%, and 1% of that average. And see where your church giving falls. Because you will find that many people are giving at the 0.4 and 0.7% of income range, which is not a problem. It just shows that you've got work to do. So great. Then next year, let's get the average up from 0.7% to 1.2%. Let's not worry about the tithe. Let's not get the bends going up too fast. We're just going to go from 0.7 to 1.2% this year. And we're going to do that by this various means. And when I'm talking about leadership in the church, I'm talking about measurable objectives. So I'm not talking about long spiritual speeches at vestry meetings about the importance of God's creation and tithing. I'm talking about measurable objectives. How can we move people up this range? So one of the things you need to look at is average gift in your church. Another you need to look at is number of new pledges, because converting people from plate giving to pledge giving is a huge issue in our church. People will say, I will not give a pledge, but I will regularly give to the plate. Okay, we can't plan on that, so that's actually not going to work in this community. So I really need you to pledge, because that's what our community. Non-pledgers are not greedy, and non-pledgers are not lazy. Non-pledgers don't understand the theology of community. So work around the theology of community in your church. This is why I had this icon here of the community of God. God exists in community, always has, always will. God doesn't. There are some theologians, I may be one of them, who would say that God actually doesn't completely understand individualism, because God has never experienced not being in community. God, as the Son, experienced being alone, but the other two parts of the Trinity were still extant. So there's a possibility that God doesn't even know what we mean when we say I. In that way. So the theology of community is the underlying issue in people wanting to give to pledge and not plate. The other underlying issue is people who want to give gifts in kind, or they want to direct their gift. I'm not going to pledge this year. I had a question about this earlier today. I'm not going to pledge this year, but I'm going to give the carpet. Oh, and by the way, I want it to be green, because it's my money. Okay, way to let go. No, you can give the value of the carpet for that project you're talking about is $2,300. So if you pledge the $2,300, we will make sure that the carpet is purchased at some point. But you're giving to this community, you're not giving to a carpet. And you're not going to retain the control over that carpet, and you're not going to use your money to get your way in this church. We love you, and we want you here, but we're not going to let you manipulate us with your money, because that's not what we do in the church. Okay? Kind, effective, not nice.